And we are live. Welcome back. You've reached the most recent installment of the Mecca of Banter. I am your host this week, Young Yid himself, Andy Hoover. Happy to be here. I caught 6 points between both my teams. We got a lot of good stuff going on in the Prem right now. It's going to be up to the last day. I am geeked about it. I may have a complete change of tone come next Monday. It might be a completely different vibe on this podcast, but that's what the drama's about, baby. That's why we're here. Let's check in with the boys. Nikki, what's going on, my man?
Similar to yourself, Hoove, both my teams caught 6 points and the vibes are high. Chelsea has now won 3 in a row in the Prem, and I don't think I've really been able to say that all year, so shout out to the boys. That's 3 in a row for the lads. Super pumped to be here. Obviously, when the vibes are high, I love to talk about footy. But as always, you can find me on Twitter at Hafey4, and I'm just excited to be here, boys.
Excited to have you. It's a pretty positive, pod I think we're going to be rolling into today for the most part. Dobes, you guys did not win this week, but you didn't look bad.
What are you talking about, man? The Man United women won another trophy this weekend.
Over Spurs.
What was it, 4-0?
It was a fantastic weekend. Ella Toon beat Spurs. Man United women beat Spurs. So who? I'm surprised you're not pissed, dude. What, do you not care about women's soccer or what, dude?
Shameful.
So anyway, yes, fellas, it was not a horrible weekend, which is, I guess, an improvement on what I've been saying the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we had the game yesterday. We didn't look terrible. We'll dive into it later. Pumped to finally have City like a full performance, even though we did concede. Chicago was terrible, but pumped to see a City performance. So yeah, fellas, I'm here again. I'll just keep showing up until you guys tell me not to.
He's just here so he doesn't get fined. And last but not least, and I may not ever get to say this again, but the biggest, the number one Tottenham fan on this podcast this week, Lucas Winkleman. Come on, you Spurs. How are we feeling?
Don't ask me what I think of Tottenham this week because I won't be able to give the normal chant response. But no, what's up, guys? It's Winks. You can find me on Twitter at LCW21. 6 points from my boys as well. Dude, fucking nail biter. I just trying to stay zen and control what we can control, and we're doing that, and not, I don't know, dude. I was watching Big Ange's post-game presser, maybe a pre-game presser or something, and he doesn't give a shit about all the Tottenham fans wanting City to win. So hoping that means he's going to put out a lineup that could compete. We'll see, though.
We will see. I have a hard time thinking Ange isn't going to do anything but that.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be a nail biter. No way around it. But before we get into the Premier League, let's rip up on the St. Louis versus Chicago Midwest. What are we going to call this one? The Midwest Derby. The
Chicago sucks. It's not a derby.
We've not beat them until Saturday, so they do suck. But it was nice to catch some points. Oh, actually, before I even get into that, Manscaped is the sponsor of this podcast. Don't forget it, boys. Are you guys ready to soak up these summer vibes and unveil your beach bod? Well, you're in luck because Manscaped and our guys over there have covered you head to toe. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. It's an ultimate all-in-one grooming kit set to have you looking and feeling your best in the summer sun. Trust Manscaped. Unlock the confidence you need to turn heads this season. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped.com. And for 20% off and free shipping, use the code MECCA20. Again, that is a MECCA20, 20% off, free shipping. Let's make this summer your smoothest yet. We're all advocates of the crop preserver. It's completely changed.
I would argue both us and our wags are all.
Wags are in on it.
They're so in.
It's positive. Anti-chafing ball deodorant. That's not even an invention that I heard of until we got sponsored by these guys. So
it used to be powder before that, but now we've leveled up a little bit.
We have considerably leveled up on all all areas. I'm pretty sure Hen uses the nose trimmer. I don't
I do too.
really. I
Yeah,
don't have that issue.
gas.
That's not where I grow a ton
Dude,
of hair.
and
But
something with that I've noticed is like my beard trimmer has an attachment for nose, and it's so loud for whatever reason, and I've tried a couple different ones, and this one, try it soon, but this one is it's not even on. It's so quiet, which is also nice because when you're shoving it up your nose, you don't want to just hear a loud ass noise, and
vibrate your brain.
it does a job. It's quiet. Can't beat it.
Love it. Again, we almost skipped over it, but we would never, because we are Manscaped truthers. Mecca 20, free shipping, 20% off. Don't you forget it. Back to St. Louis. It was a commanding 3-1 win over the Chicago Fire on Saturday night. And it was awesome. That was the best that we've looked this year from my point of view. That also, double pivot on that one. Chicago were terrible.
Really,
Chicago looked really, really poor.
We also knew that coming in. I think the podcast before we had mentioned that like we need a result on this one. We knew Chicago was not playing their best footy.
And it's just one of those things, but we've said that a couple times. We've not played,
True.
The cream of the crop. So to actually, I know for a fact someone mentioned must win last game. This one, again, had to have been a must win. Started out strong with an all screamer from 25 yards. The high press worked to an absolute T, and I still feel we're missing Lowen, obviously. That until he comes back, which the conversation is he's either going to play Wednesday or Saturday, one of the two.
You guys saw that announcement though, right? That thing that Carnell said after the game about how Lowen's going to address everyone, that scares the shit out of me. I will not admit it, or not lie, boys. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing.
It scares me from a personal perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's like family health related, wife health related, something. So I think that's one of those, because I don't think he's left St. Louis.
No.
Like I think throughout this entire time, like he's been in St. Louis. He's not rehabbing. He's healthy. So I think it's one of those where St. Louis has always been a good city with this stuff, to where it's like we'll kind of rally around him no matter what it is. It's like, but we're just happy he's healthy and here. We want him back. Yeah.
A couple of people have said they have inside information, and the general report is that St. Louis is going to rally around the guy. It's a people business first. We can't really concern ourselves too much with not having him on the pitch when life and family are bigger than football, and that's totally understandable. And that's how we I think I know we all approach it, and St. Louis in general approaches it, but it still goes without saying we miss him on the pitch, and I know he wants to be out there too. Most footballers hate it when they can't play. Klaus is just the same way last year. Those types of things are unavoidable, but we dump the ball high a lot. Our inability to move through the middle is tough. But the high press works to a T. Like once you get the ball up and we get a throw in, even in their half, we can comfortably rotate the ball in and around their area. We can set up attacking, forward looking play. But once we're there, getting there is the hard part. But with all that aside, outside of the mental lapse, I think on the goal that Chicago scored, it's pretty dominant. We could have had more. Klaus is very much so back into his, form of what I think. I think it's a confidence thing. Celia was an absolute dog.
I was about to say,
personally,
we have to mention him before.
One of my favorite guys that played that night. That setup was masterful. It was beautiful.
The Brazilian connection. You wouldn't know it by looking at them stand next to each other, but
you wouldn't.
It's there.
Most João Klaus, got some family history that doesn't necessarily start in Brazil, but that's for a different day. That's for a different time. That finish too wasn't simple. From my point of view in the stadium, I was on the opposite end. It looked like a toe poke kind of thing. It looked like he just stabbed at it and got a ball. It was Nice. He sliced down on it, got all full, outside boot, kind of dragged it to the back post. That was a great finish. And it's good to see him putting balls in the back of the net. Little finger poke touch celebration for our boy Nico Giacchini, who had some sort of hand in helping Como get promoted.
Thanks
last
for the 2
week.
mil.
We'll take the 2 mil bank deposit. Thank you, Como.
Come on, Royce.
Yeah, we can get that for sure. But general thoughts, players that you guys liked. I've chatted this entire time, but I think we all watched this one, and again, we all had a great time watching it. It was a fun game to be at.
Obviously, Celio for me. I mean, he's the guy that you guys have heard me for years now talk about him. And truthfully, I think that obviously with Lewin coming in, but I think that wing position is kind of locked down. Now that he's had a run of games, looks great. Celio's looked great. And Klaus is sort of rounding into form. But truthfully, I don't think there was anybody from our team that didn't show up. There was kind of a steady game from our back four. Obviously, we conceded one, but the midfield was solid. Yes, Chicago was absolutely terrible. But at the same time, it's like we've seen us make not great teams look a lot better than we made Chicago look Saturday night. So obviously ecstatic with the 3 points. And I think, with just a few key pieces away here, we may be able to build some momentum. I know Nilsson came in and got some minutes. Would love to see him get back in. We're close with Lewin coming back. So if we can keep this form we got with Klaus and keep the front three firing, we just add a few more pieces, fellas. We're not away from turning all those ties into a string of wins here. So there is a lot of positivity that just one win can bring, in my opinion.
I completely agree with Dobes. I think one of the big things you hit on was I think we finally have a front three that is on the team sheet every time now, and we can kind of build off that. And it's something that we haven't had at City, I think, since the creation of us. So it's that consistency of a front three. I also am hoping that filters into our back four. I know we've kind of seen a couple of different center back partnerships, but I'm hoping that eventually, as the season goes, we kind of have that solid back four, and then we can start building towards playoffs and possibly whatever we want to do. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Tommy Barlow getting some minutes for Chicago. I thought that was kind of sick in St. Louis, St. Louis boy. So him coming on in City Park, I thought was pretty cool.
The one thing I'll say about that gets me most excited is we've talked numerous times over the past couple of weeks in games where we haven't played too well, where we're saying that Klaus is trying to do too much outside of the box, to where we saw our wingers get into positions, and yes, the one came from Durkin, but the overlapping was great. And we're now willing to play those balls to where he's in his best position to score. Yes, he can combine and kind of do the things, but the 2 goals he scored, those are strikers' goals.
I was going to say, you talked about the toe poke, but the header was just that was an incredible finish as well.
Those are 2 goals that should be João Klaus's bread and butter. We're finally realizing how to utilize him, and that's encouraging.
And it's good timing too. I feel like we play LA on Wednesday, and they spanked the Whitecaps this weekend. So they're in decent form right now. So I feel like this, like Nick said, this timing of getting a front three that's kind of locked in, at least for, the next handful of games, assuming nobody gets hurt, is good timing because, LA isn't that much better than us. I feel like I haven't watched any of their games this year, but just looking at the table and looking at the stat sheets, same goal differential. They just squeaked out a few more wins that we ended up tying. So as long as we carry, what we did to Chicago into Wednesday, minus a Berkey, error leading to a goal, I think, which, probably won't happen the rest of the season.
He's earned that. He's allowed
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
Which is why we didn't call it out either, right? Because he's been phenomenal. He's been, one of the keeper of the seasons since he's came to the league, since City's been a team. So as long as we carry what we did to Chicago to LA, I think we'll be in a good spot for sure.
Yep. And my last shot on players who, considering the game on Wednesday, I could see if he gets rotated. Curious to see where Carnell goes with the lineup for the short turnaround. Kyle Hebert, man, was awesome.
Yeah.
Kyle Hebert from the rafters. You know, I don't remember who tweeted it, but one of the local guys who we follow. That's got to be one of the hardest positions to find adequate coverage on any MLS team
Sure.
with the roster build we have is a backup center back. And Kyle Hebert has stepped into the role and taken it with the reins, man.
Especially the way we play too.
Yes, and you know, ideally in the future, if you want me to get nitpicky, I'd love a ball playing center back that can find a pass from the back line and maybe split some defenders. You know, that's not what we need or ask of Kyle Hebert, but his ability to track back, he was in one-on-one situations 2 to 3 times in this game, and he shut every single one of them down with positioning and smart defending and slow the play, let everybody else track back in. Don't step in and overcommit. I thought he was masterful on breaks, on counters. First half, you know, man of the match for me, you know, without Klaus scoring 2. I thought he would have been a good shout for it. But yeah, it's so cool to see where he's come from. You know, any opportunity I get to shout it out. We had an HR class together. We did do a group project together at Missouri State. Friend of the pod, you know.
Bro,
But
he's
from
he's he's the definition of it, like a do your job guy. Like
yes,
he made the team by barely making the team and has been asked to play, I think, almost everywhere on the back four and has just like said yes. And so he's one of those guys that you become valuable when Cardinal knows exactly what he's going to get from Kyle Hebert every single time he plays. Whether we know that's not playing the ball, but he's gonna defend, and that's a key position to have.
and that's fine. And we're not a possession-based team, you know. So for the most part, we're not losing anything on that side of the ball. You know, he should be able to bomb it up, and we should be able to start the press and you know and continue to look forward.
Question for you boys: does this save Carnell's job a little bit? What do you guys think as far as that goes? Does this performance make us like Carnell a little bit more, or how are we feeling about that?
I think it's tough to judge him until we have Lewin back. And I know that that's such one player thing, but it's also like a DP supposed to be our best player.
Yeah.
To where we are kind of
we're trying to build our team
we
around him
we beat a
almost.
team at the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
That's like
I agree.
Yeah.
I saw some tweets of people being like, Carnell just saved his job, and I was like, I don't know if it was there yet.
The crazy thing is, like, I just looked at the table from first in the West to ninth is 6 points.
Yeah.
Like if we win on Wednesday, like all of a sudden we can like mathematically technically jump to fourth. You know what I mean? So that's where those ties are like they are coming in handy.
Yeah. What I like from Carnell in the last few weeks, and while we were drawing games, that was obviously still frustrating. I love a little bit of consistency. This is our 4th game in a row that we fielded the same starting 11, and you know, to a certain degree, man, we've all played FIFA manager careers. You have to build some chemistry, especially with key players out. You have to figure out how everyone around you is going to play.
That we wanted.
It's all we wanted last year was some sort of consistency. And I think without, you know, he credited something in his post match about his ability to continue these guys playing. And I guess the fixture congestion and everything and the travel and stuff they've had, he says hasn't been an issue yet. So he's felt there's been no problems fielding these guys again. Had to find the right core, I think, through the beginning with injuries and things of that nature. You know, but I personally feel right now this is our best 11. And, you know, in my mind, you play it as many times as you can until there's guys that are, you know, running low on fumes. We're going to get some rotation either Wednesday or Saturday. There's just no way that, you know, all 11 of those guys play 3 in a week. So, you know, interested to see where he goes with that. Full circle moment for Hoove. Hugo Lloris is coming to St. Louis and is defending, you know, is between the sticks for a team that I am not supporting. So that's interesting to me. I hope we bag 6 on him. But I'm very eager to see him. He was the only Spurs keeper that I watched my entire fandom. You know, Capitan, he's got a long history of lore in England. He's won a World Cup. something that, he's got a trophy as a Tottenham player. So let's not get too wild here with accusations. But eager to see him. LA is definitely a better side than Chicago. I am glad we're seeing them pre Olivier Giroud, because he's going to make that team better with Dennis Bonega on the left, who's been a baller the last 2 years. So, I'm tapering expectations for Wednesday. I think it'll be a hard-fought game, and I fully expect them to go balls to the wall with it. But
you showing up
Chicago.
early with the Spurs jersey?
I will not be showing up early with the Spurs jersey. I will not be, in tears on the sidelines trying to get a autograph. But I will take a picture of him and tweet it on the burner for my London lads to see. And I'll clap him when he gets announced in the stadium. But again, hope we just absolutely bag.
Love that.
I've seen rough days from Hugo a couple times, and I'm okay with seeing one again on Wednesday. So eager for that one. Wednesday night, we take on LA, and then we've got a double on Saturday. I want to say we are away at, please hold, Cincinnati. So 6:30 on Saturday, Cincinnati.
Do we mention him?
Who?
Do we mention him?
Mention him.
I mean, fellas, we're like a month away from Marco Reus being on number 10. We're about a month away from Marco Reus.
That's electric.
If you've not held and kept up with the Twitter movement that's been going, we're very much so in the game to sign Marco Reus. It is no longer just a possible feasibility that Henry threw out November 11th of 2023. This is no longer just like a dream for us. There are 3 teams that have been mentioned in having contact with him. Al Nasser in Saudi Arabia, who are probably going to offer him $400 million to come show up and pick a ball for a little bit.
Oh, Carolyn, get your pockets ready, man.
Yeah. Inter Miami, who are already fielding the Barcelona return alumni squad. St. Louis City, little old St. Louis, led by nobody else but himself, Berkey. As we've seen this week, he posted a pretty serious video about recruiting Marco Reus. I mean, he told him, "Hey man, look how great our facilities are. The boys are already excited to meet you. Everyone already knows your name in the restaurants out here. And here's the captain's band." Like, the captain of St. Louis doesn't get to say that unless upper management and Lutz give him the right. Give him the right. Lutz is a very strong-willed man, and he's been absolutely outward about how he wants to build this team, who he wants to build this team with, and the direction that he wants to take. He's got a 5-year plan. We could put Marco Reus in those plans now.
Number 11's open,
there's
baby.
a world. Number 11's open. Number 11 in City Park. The genuine thought of it gives me chills.
Oh, same.
He would not only be the best player on our team by a long shot, he would be top 3 in the league. Who's he behind? Messi?
Bro, he would, his first game in his City jersey, the game before it would be the Champions League final.
Yeah, literally.
He could go from playing in the Champions League final to playing it away at home at City Park.
That would be insane.
We would recoup our money in jersey sales alone.
Immediately. Yeah, we could pay his whole salary in jersey sales. I do think the way that
every color.
Why not? Me too. I mean, he could, dead ass. He could play 2 games for us, get injured, and then never see the pitch again. But I'll have that kit for forever. That will die in infamy because he's the man.
My kids will know that Marco Reus played for St. Louis City.
My kids will know. And I don't know the situation with how we can structure contracts. It'll obviously be a designated player situation. We do have a slot open. We've been begging for a creative 10 since the beginning. I think Indy's doing a pretty good job. He's not Marco Reus. Sorry, buddy. I don't think he's going to be offended by hearing that. Maybe there's a world where we put, jersey sales in his contract. We're not going to compete with an Al Nasser offer.
Yeah.
They can literally empty the bank for him and fly him out on a private jet. We
I
can't
also
do
don't
that.
think he's a guy of money because, I mean,
Agreed.
he stayed with Dortmund for how long and tried to help them win a title, and I can probably bet a lot of money that he was offered a couple of different contracts in his time there, and he turned those down.
Very much so a family man. Like someone said a couple weeks ago, Dortmund is not the typical European city that we mentioned. And we're like, well, how would we get him over from to St. Louis?
It's St. Louis.
The same.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Same. Yeah.
It's a hardworking, working class town for the most part. And I don't think it would be that crazy of a jump. There's a lot of German roots in St. Louis already. There's so many positives. He could
Just
could
a
go to
smaller
Lowen's
version
church.
of the yellow wall.
Exactly, and it's red. It's city pink, city red. Sorry,
Whatever you want.
So
You
whatever
can
you want it to
decide.
be.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be absolutely electric. I'd poop my pants, frankly, if I saw that transfer. Especially it would come through.
Fabrizio.
Fabrizio. Are you kidding me? I love when he mentions us. Someone even said too. I think it might have been the First Touch guys. The clout that we would get from that on a global perspective may even outlast his production on the pitch. What we would be able to draw in terms of global interest from any player's perspective.
We're doing a business deal with Dortmund. Like
he's one of the most well-respected players still playing of our generation.
I agree
the fact that everyone is so obviously rooting for Dortmund in the Champions League because of him and because of their story and everything that comes with that could just come to us. We could just do that. He could win something here. I'm personally a little worried about his legs, his injury record, and the ability to play
high press. Yeah.
And but that's what Dortmund play. You know what I mean? And it's a little bit. It's obviously the quality is not the same. So hopefully,
I think we just shouldn't have the expectation that if we play 3 times a week that he's going to play twice. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we have to expect with him. Is like, and obviously there's nobody on our team besides, if you want to say, Berkey, on the level that he's at. But the ability to start Vasilev at the 10, start Lewin at the 10, and then second half in the 60th minute, if you have to, you're bringing on Marco Reus to go try to win a game. Like, that's the rotation that you kind of work from it. And we saw Shaqiri the other night, who is not a big enough name as Marco Reus, but like trying to do the same type of thing. And he was horrible. You know what I mean? Horrible. And he hasn't had the injury concerns that Reus has had. So I do agree that the injury thing would suck if he came for a game and just got injured. But at the same time, if we get this right, it's like the perfect situation of what we could need. It's a rotational player. It's older, and then you buy somebody younger to come in and take his place or something like that,
Yep. Durkin emptied out his pockets and Shaqiri fell out on Saturday for sure. He was miserable. But also, you can tell he's different gravy. Like, even just when he's on the ball, he can spray one to anywhere. So, while he didn't create much, it's nice to think that we could have just some elite technical ability in the side, which we've not had since Lowen hasn't been playing. And even then, Lowen never went to a Champions League final. Lowen was a squad rotation player for Hoffenheim, and he's still our best player. So, dream big, lads. Why not? I mean, I'm all in. The hype train is here. It is at the station. It is ready for departure.
Shout out Hen for calling that too.
Yeah, big time. Hen deserves all the flowers in the world, especially if we get him. I think what a shout, and that came from ball knowledge. That came from his ability to link with us and how we can connect with these Germans and the play that we have. Shout out Hen. No way around it. Royce to St. Louis. Book it. He's coming.
I'd go to the airport.
I'd go to the airport, and then we're going to win the cup. So I want to see him lift out as the captain. I'd cry tears. Are you kidding me?
He goes from lifting a UCL to the MLS Cup.
I will say it was really funny. I was talking to Hoove earlier. It was really fun, Hen earlier. It was really funny that Berkey did his video, and in the background, the St. Louis sky is just like how it always is. It's just the most grayest, normal, ugly day that it really possible.
So moving on, we'll definitely be tracking that as it rolls, but we have quite the Premier League weekend as well, and it is teeing up for a final day Championship Sunday, absolute bang. We haven't seen a
So
Championship
many
Sunday like this in
storylines.
years. In years, there's a lot of storylines. City battered Fulham at home. They were flying kites at training the week before,
Dog.
so there was just no fight in them. That no one was worried about it. Their place is safe. Battered them. I mean,
And see
I
that
didn't get to
that's
see this
just the
one,
difference.
but
I feel like City
yeah,
batters the teams and others kind of just keep on by.
yeah. So they're up at they're 1 point behind Arsenal at the moment. They
Game in
do
hand.
play Spurs tomorrow. I'm shameless in this one, boys, but I'm wearing blue. I'm wearing light blue, city blue tomorrow. No matter what Ange says about it, he's a professional. The team's professional. They should try and go win that game because that's what they're expected to do. But if all they do is disappoint me, why would they start not disappointing me now? Why would we be different
It's the most
tomorrow
Spursy
as
thing ever.
opposed? Let's just continue this Spursy thing one more game, please, and then we can all move on with our lives, and the city curse in Tottenham Stadium can continue. But leaning into Spurs as well, 2-1 win over Burnley. Again, not the best watch I've ever seen by any means, but on a losing skid, it's nice to grab 3 points. And we found ourselves falling to the point where someone else could slide into fifth. And those 3 points are pretty crucial to lock up some Europa
Yeah, I was upset.
situations. And if we lose to City and we lose to Sheffield, we shouldn't even be playing in the Europa. So let's, it's all already an improvement from what it was last year, and that's pretty sure all I asked for at the beginning of the season.
And on top of it all, your daddy scored the
I was about to
game-winning
say,
goal.
can we talk about what a
Yeah.
goal by that man? Holy
What
shit.
a goal. He's got 3 goals on the year. One of them was a down 10-man Luton corner kick, just slid it in, which was a huge goal in the moment, and given the way that the season's rolled. His other 2 goals have been screamers, absolute bangers.
Veto this comparison if you want. John Stones and him, very similar.
Faster John Stones.
Faster than John
faster.
Stones.
But you know what I mean? Like when he scored that goal, he looked like a center midfielder. Like the give and go and then the touch into space. I was like, I thought he was playing CDM.
It was, well, so the way that, the situation was, Emerson Royale was terrible. Or no, sorry, Oliver Skipp, I believe, started at left back, which, if that's a sign for you to probably leave, as the youth defensive midfielder is playing your role at left back, Emerson, my bad, bro. You've been great for the content. It's time to go. He's reached 100 appearances for the club. I can't believe that. That's insane to me. But despite all that, he slid over left because Dragshin came in. Skippy was on a yellow, and I mean he played it flawlessly. In after the game, he had an interview with Spurs Live guys, and they were like, walk us through it. And he's like, 5 seconds before that whole play started, he's like, I told Mattis that I was just running. He's like, just find me. I'm gonna be deep on this one. Sure enough, he picked his head up. He was making a run across the middle. It doesn't happen either without Dane Scarlett playing a little dummy, a little block off, on the center backs that had to pull them away from where he's trying to pull that shot. But he opened up his body and just pinged it back post. I mean, tucked it in there. It was so pretty. And then the speed at which he took off running to start his knee slide, again, insane. The guy's rapid even when he's knee sliding into the corner. It was awesome. I was screaming in my house, and it was so annoying because we found ourselves in this position where we're like leading it late against Burnley again. I was geeked. Everyone I know with sports fairs was geeked. He's my favorite player. It's done. It's chalked. I love Sonny so much. I think Romero's, the leader and the true captain, and everyone, that should rally him. Mickey is my guy. My guy. So, nice to grab 3 points. Hopefully we don't tomorrow, but we move. The season's about done. I'm happy for it to be done. It's been a positive improvement.
I don't know a good or bad sign for you. I don't know if you saw the Spurs TikTok today, but it was Emerson flying kites on the training ground.
Bro,
that's a great sign.
That may be
great sign.
Bad sign for you based on Fulham.
Great sign. If we're talking about Fulham and they just get battered 4-0 at home, after they were also flying kites before. I had a buddy reach out, an Arsenal friend, Spencer Osterman, if he's listening, but he was like, man, I can't believe that I'm actually pulling for you guys tomorrow. He's like, hopefully you don't just absolutely botch it like you normally would. And I actually sent him the video of Emerson flying a kite. And I was like, you tell me, brother, because it sure looks like we're not gonna come out firing here. But again, Ange is a professional, and he's been in the public. He's like, you're delusional if you don't think I'm trying to win this game. He could give a shit about rivalries. And there's still the slightest chance that I think, top 4 is on the table. If you win both games and Villa drops a point, we're in. So great. That'd be cool. Again, we're not Champions League caliber. Spurs aren't Champions League caliber right now. I don't know what incomings and things we would need to really be able to compete in that right now. Europa is winnable. Europa's winnable. Just give me a damn trophy, brother. That's all I've ever asked for. I have genuinely, I'm not sitting here saying, like, we need to be challenging for the title. I don't care, bro. Win a damn Mickey Mouse Cup. Win an FA Cup. I'll take the Europa. I'll take the Europa Conference League in Zenit or wherever they're playing. So, would love to see that finish. Mickey's my dad. 2 goals from wingbacks in the moment.
Yeah.
That's huge for me. It's huge for the wingback truther here. Pedro Porro. I mean, the keeper probably should have saved Pedro Porro, but he was a missile. He hit it pretty hard. The amount of times that they just absolutely choked the ball off to Spurs in their own half, especially from the keeper. He had a terrible game. For it to only have been 2 goals is disappointing. But we move. And tomorrow's going to be so insane. I don't know how I'm going to react to it at all. I think it's going to be the weirdest Tottenham crowd ever with the way that everyone's talking online. But they're just going to shamelessly be celebrating City goals. So, call it what you want. That's heritage, boys. That's football heritage. Moving on, Chelsea. Absolute barn burner, and they locked my live money line bet. I did not watch the end of this game, but I was in Target with my girlfriend, and Wink said 2-1 down. He goes, "Do you think I should bet live Chelsea?" And I was like, blindly, sounds great, sure. They gave up
Winks
another
will
goal,
take
and
the
they
credit
pulled it
for
out.
it now, but his first reaction was, Chelsea sucks again.
Can't believe I wasted my money.
Yeah, can't
yeah.
believe
Well,
I
no,
wasted my
yeah.
money.
I actually. So I went to the UFC fights that were in St. Louis on Saturday. So those started at like 3:00. So my boys and I went to DraftKings right across the river, Casino Queen, at like 11:30 noon. And I was sitting there playing video poker, trying to watch the rest of this game before we went and played blackjack. And I saw they were tied 1-1, and I'm like, okay, Chelsea haven't lost since we put them in a fucking blender like a month ago. And it's not, and it's Nottingham Forest.
He's hit on it every single pod since, but keep going.
They have to figure this out. And so I asked you guys, didn't bet it, but I was like, should we do it? And then I didn't hear back quick enough, and then Nottingham scored, and I was like, thank God. And then I texted you guys, thank God I didn't waste my money. And then they tied it back up. I was like, they got the momentum. I'll do a little bit. And then, they ended up pulling out, dude. Thank God.
Yeah, this one was definitely an interesting one. Going into the game, I was actually kind of nervous because I thought Nottingham Forest would be kind of on that relegation line, so they would pretty much need the 3 points. But after the performance of I'm trying to remember who else is in the relegation zone, but whoever it was coming into the game, they needed points. They didn't get them. So Forest was pretty much secured that they won't get relegated. So they were pretty much celebrating upon kickoff. So like it was kind of interesting. I was expecting it to be like really high intensity the entire game, but it kind of wasn't at all. We scored early. Mudryk had a goal. I thought it was beautiful finish, great ball from Cole Palmer. It's something that I've been waiting for all year, and I'm happy that he's finding the net now. I know I said on the last pod, I still highly rate Mudryk. I think he's still young and he's fast, and if he just gets some confidence and continues to finish, I think we'll be in for a good couple years with him. And then obviously when Forrest scored, I was once again like, oh, here we go on the roller coaster that is Chelsea. And I was telling Hoove before we started this pod, I was very nervous of Hudson Odoi coming into the game just because former Chelsea players usually like to perform well against them. So when he scored in the 74th, I was not surprised at all. And to be fair, I thought it was going to be the game winner. But Poach did something that he hasn't been really doing consistently all year, but he kind of is of late, is actually make good subs and change up how we were playing. I thought his subs were perfect with bringing in Sterling, who immediately had an impact in. I also thought Gusto, and then obviously the last person I wanted to touch on was Reece James, who immediately came on and provided the game-winning assist. For us to Jackson, he put it on a tee for him, which is what Jackson needs to finish the ball. So I'm ecstatic to see Reece James back in a Chelsea jersey wearing the captain's band and on the pitch. I'm hoping that we can see him consistently now and next year. So I'm hoping the timing's perfect as far as his recovery goes. But seeing him on the pitch definitely brought a smile to my face for the entire time he was on there. But yeah, that's kind of what I had. I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts.
That's funny. That's a feel-good moment. It's,
oh yeah,
we're, like we said with Lowen, we're people-centric guys. I feel bad for how long he's been injured. To a certain degree, that's, it's an issue with where we rank him in, terms of quality players, because we just don't see him enough. But when he does play, I do think he's quality, and it's nice to see guys bounce back from injury. I will say the Cole Palmer ball was saucy. Cole Palmer ball to Mudryk
I thought
was
Mudryk's first touch
tasty.
on it too. Like I thought it was a great play, great finish.
I mean, I got in an argument with a guy in TikTok comments on the Mecca account this week about Mudryk, which again, you're never going to find me defending cats, but when it's easy to see, it's not. It's something that you can argue. It's ball knowledge, and there's an upside to Mudryk. Was he worth 100 mil? Probably not. Is he a shit player? Not in my opinion. There's a world, absolutely, where he's so rapid. He's still so young. When he's cool and calm and collected, that was a good finish too, frankly. So there's a world where he continues to get better. I think he would be lights out on a Brighton or a mid-table team. I think he'd be one of their best wingers. But it's, we're talking Chelsea here, who's got a laundry list of guys who are supposed to be playing. And, whether or not he continues that streak and even builds on it, we don't know. But to say that there's nothing there is delusional. I think he's a player. Confidence is huge for kids. At this point, he's 19, isn't he?
No, he's a little bit older. I think he's 21.
Is he 20 now?
No, he's actually 23. So he's not crazy young. So we're about to take everything I just said back.
Maybe I walk back a little bit, just a little bit. But there's an upside. I mean, it's hard not to see. But you weren't seeing
similarly to
shit when
City,
he was with Chelsea.
Yeah, and similarly to City, how we were mentioning, we find our front four with Mudryk, Palmer, Jackson, and Madwicki has kind of seen consistency, which I'm kind of happy to see. I know the subs came in and had a good impact, but I'm happy that I know it's towards the end of the season, but I think we're kind of finding form right at the right time. And also, if you would have told me that there's a possibility for us to make Europa. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but mathematically we could make Europa League. I would have called you crazy. So like the fact that we're in this position makes me super happy. So
You know what's going to be annoying though is if you guys sneak into Conference League, you guys should win that next year, and then I'm going to have to hear you complain about how if we don't win any sort of trophy, we won the Conference League or whatever.
well, I mean that's
I can't
just
wait for
added
that.
to the list of trophies that we've won.
I mean,
since
shit,
you
with
guys
the
have, which is
and
a
with the
long
squad
list.
size you guys
Hold
have.
on, before we go anywhere else, would that trophy count towards our bet?
No,
or did we just say
no,
Champions
no.
League and Premier League?
Champions
Okay,
League, Premier
I couldn't
League.
remember.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And also I know.
Conference League, like
What'd you say?
1,000%. I would rather finish 8th than play in Conference League.
When I would agree with you. I would agree with you if it wasn't for financial fair play, because we need the money, and if we're playing in that competition, it's
$2.
no, it's a decent
Dude.
amount of money, and any dime right now, I don't know. And that was something I didn't want to go into, guys, but we could. Like, I've been on Chelsea's Twitter of late, and like some of the stuff we're doing to make the rules of financial fair play is very interesting. Like we're selling our training grounds to ourselves. And then we also just sold our hotel that's on like facility to ourselves. Like we're doing some interesting things to try to make this financial fair play stuff happen.
That sounds like embezzlement.
For background, both teams that make the Europa Conference League final win 3 million euros, and the winner receives an additional 2. So you'd be able to buy Caicedo's pinky finger with that 5 mil.
It's not more of that. It's more of like not having to sell some of our guys who we were thinking we were going to have to sell.
It's the TV rights and all the different bullshit from playing more games and eyeballs.
So Antonio Conte had the exact same feeling about the Conference League that you did, because we didn't show up to a game when he was in charge. So moving on, next up in the league was, do we call it the game of the weekend? It was something for sure.
It was definitely
United,
something.
Today was the game of the weekend, I guess game of the game match week. But I'll let Winks go. Winks can kick it off.
United lost
sure?
to Arsenal at home 1-0. I got to watch the entire thing. I'm eager to hear the guy who had stakes in the game's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna start off by quoting the great Nate Griffin here and saying, not gonna be great all 38 games, but got the win, and that's all that matters.
He was saying a lot more in my text. I'll just
naturally, and I've got my bits and pieces too. I think you guys played better in the first half, even though we scored. But at this point in the title race, I think any of us, regardless of who we're playing, unless it's Spurs in my case, am a lot less concerned with how we win, as long as we do. You know, we still almost tripled, if not more, your expected goals. Saliba was a fucking monster, and Odegaard, I think, might have ended Amrabat's loan spell there.
You had to remind people he was in the field by doing that. People just didn't know he was there.
I know. Yeah, he didn't have his best game, but that goes back to what I was saying. Like, you know, they're not going to be great every single one, and at this point, you just got to do what you can to get the 3 points. And you know, hell, you guys didn't even have a shot on goal till like the 70th-ish minute.
It was a Casemiro shot from like 35 yards out, right at Raya. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and then on the flip side of things, you know, a super lazy bit of defending from Casemiro on the defensive end, where we capitalized, was all we needed to get the 3 points. So, and then let me see if I can do this little number real quick for our YouTube watchers. And then you guys had this guy come on thinking he was going to be a game changer, and I think he had one shot on goal, but was a ghost besides that. So
this is going to be dangerous. The fact that we could share screens.
And his shot on goal was like a dribbler right at Raya.
Exactly. But no, I think all in all, I'm gonna keep it kind of short and sweet outside of what I've said. But I think Ten Hag should be happy with how the 11 that he put out generally played against us, though I don't think any of us were expecting it to be a 1-0 game. at all. I know I wasn't. So
I hammered the over, so
yeah,
that sucked.
yeah,
Thanks.
that's brutal. But no, I mean, you know, we got the 3 points. That's what we were meant to do there. What we wanted to do there. So how it happened isn't as big of a concern to me as getting the 3 points was.
I agree with that, but I also feel like you want to be peaking right now. And like I feel like now the games that you guys have left are now such nail biters when like
Well, there's one game.
Yeah.
Sorry,
have
the
Everton.
last game left.
Yeah.
You're right, but I'm just saying, like, City having a 4-0 performance against Fulham, cruising right now, and then you have Arsenal that's kind of like, this last performance wasn't their best. Yes, before that they had a great stretch of games, but like
We won 3-0, beat Spurs 3-2,
No, and
beat
that's
you
what I'm
guys
saying.
5-0. Like, it's just one game, baby.
Okay,
I
would. Okay.
However
you want to feel.
I get what you're saying too. It's like I always think of it. I don't know why my brain always goes back to this, but the year that the LA Kings won the Stanley Cup, sorry to bring different sport into this, but trying to Americanize my viewpoint here, maybe your viewpoint, but the Kings barely made it into the playoffs the year that they won the cup, and they got hot at the right time. I think the difference here is that we're playing an injury-ridden United and then Everton, our last 2 games, who neither team are in great form whatsoever right now. And we don't have to play a Big Six team. We're also undefeated against a Big Six this year. So to say that we're not in form isn't
win. Like, you have to
for
win
sure.
This last game.
For sure.
Like,
I agree.
I would just feel like going into it, you would want a comfortable win against United, who's in 8th right now. Like,
even
I agree, but also I think that I would.
United Arsenal always delivers. Like,
you're right.
regardless,
you're right with that, though.
And same with Spurs too.
We're going to be in that game.
Yeah, but for me, it's like if we're gonna barely squeak by a team that we always have a close game with for the most part, I feel like on the player side of things, if anything, that would like light a fire under my ass to be like, we should have fucking crushed them. Let's do what we should have done to United, to Everton in this last game, and you know, like I've said 1,000 times, control what we can control and let the rest play out as it's gonna be. See if Ange and his boys are flying kites.
If you can't, and this is just to continue this point before I dive into United, if you can't get up to play your best game of the season with the league on the line, you don't belong playing in the Premier League. Like this whole game for me, and this kind of leads into it. For Arsenal, it was just get the job done. And for United, it was truthfully, as ashamed it is to say, it was like minimalize the damage. Like, truthfully, with the squad that we put out, my goal going into this game when I saw the 11 was, let's just be respectable. Like, truthfully, Arsenal's coming in, having won all those games 4-5, 3-0, whatever they had been, and we're playing with an injury-ridden side. Truthfully, I'm kind of ecstatic with just the way that United played. And I know that it's kind of one of those that you never want to say you won the possession battle when you won a game, but like, we haven't won a possession battle against like Burnley, fellas, like Crystal Palace. Like, we're talking about teams that are terrible. And this lineup that we put out, like, there's a few guys that I have to call out. It was Ahmad's first start in 3 years, his first real chance that he got minutes, and he was absolutely fantastic. I was so pumped to see him. He was the only creative winger that we have on the team that's sort of a pass-first winger. Amrabat, who hasn't got much game time playing as that number 6, played probably the best game we've seen him play this season in United shirt, and just the direct impact that he made gave us control in the midfield. Johnny Evans and Scott McTominay are two that they didn't have their best games by any means, but they're two guys that there's a lot of players, and there's a lot of rumors going on like around right now that if the FA Cup final was this weekend, there's a lot of players that are out for us would probably be in the squad and trying to play. And Scott McTominay and Johnny Evans are two guys. Scott McTominay didn't train after being out for 2 weeks until Thursday of last week, and he went 90 minutes. Johnny Evans still hasn't passed a fitness test, but we haven't had anybody else healthy to play that other center back position, and he played well. So truthfully, I agree with everything that Wink said about the game. From an Arsenal perspective, it's just like, find a way to get it done. And I even texted this to Griff. It's like, credit to Ben White for recognizing Casemiro's position and playing that ball. Because like, Casemiro made the mistake, but at the end of the day, you still got to capitalize on those mistakes. And Casemiro is just decided to retire with 2 weeks left in the season and just not even play at all. I think that's what sucks. But at the end of the day, like, we played well. We kept decent possession, but this front three has nothing going forward, even remotely at all. I saw a statistic today that talks about Hoyland in his last in his last 8 games has had 5 chances created for him. Over the entire season, Erling Haaland has had 106 shots. Hoyland has had 35. But if you look at the conversion rates for how many times they shoot to score, their conversion rates are about the same at roughly around like 23, 24% in terms of conversion rates from shots to goals. So we're just getting no service. And I do love Garnacho. You guys know my appreciation for him. But the kid is just so shoot first that his decision making as he grows, he's still 19, he's still young. But there's so many times where I truthfully think if we had a creative winger out there that gets into those same positions, Hoyland scoring goals, McTominay who's getting the boxes scoring goals. But at the end of the day, fellas, like I said, this was damage limitation for me. Like it was a respectable performance. And my main focus is on the FA Cup. I know we have Newcastle and then Brighton, but my main focus
Please beat Newcastle.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know who we're going to have available. I don't know how we're going to have available. My focus is on
any of. Oh wait, we're all fucking injured too.
I want FA Cup and I want Europa League. Give me FA Cup and Europa League. That's all I want.
You want Sterling?
I think you guys at least draw that game with Bruno. Frankly,
Bruno, or for me, Rashford, an impact sub like Rashford coming off the bench potentially. We had zero creativity anywhere, like anywhere.
He was also their only senior player next to Christian Eriksen on the bench. I think seriously, it was one lapse because I didn't see a ton of Arsenal that I was like they were gonna, they had a couple missed chances. But you guys played as a system better than I've seen recently and genuinely lacked the final third. That was it. It was one defensive lapse and some good final third entries, and you're pulling points from that game in my mind, no question.
I will say that the one thing that I've seen, and it hasn't been for Winks or even Griff, but the one thing I've seen online that frustrates me is that people saying that Arsenal chose to sit in. And that, to me, is just the most untrue statement in the world. Arsenal was one deflection, one penalty away from literally throwing away the league. So that, they needed to go for that and go find a second goal. We didn't play great, but, Kobe Mainoo, Amrabat, and McTominay kind of controlled that midfield for the majority of the game and made it difficult to not see Odegaard and to not see Rice and to not see some of their playmakers. So that's the only thing for me is, I respect the hell out of Arsenal. I know what they've done, but, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Arteta was like, hey, guys, sit in. They had every right to go for that. We just actually, for the first time in 2 months, put in a halfway decent performance for about 75 minutes.
What could have been for the lads, what could have been for the season, alas, Arsenal pulls it out. Like they have done so many times this season, no way around it. It's been a good run of games for them. Great season, no way you can say it hasn't been. The last one we'll just nick on real quick. Liverpool 3, Villa 3 happened today just before the recording. Absolute blinder of the game. 3-1 down for Villa. They needed a win to lock automatic top 4. They did not achieve that, but they're going to take that point and be pretty happy. And it's just about wrapped up for them, as far as I can see. And from a Liverpool perspective, bummer to lose it, but it frankly just feels like the end of the season already, and they just want to win to give Klopp a send-off and start, planning next year. They've already got top 4. It's done, right?
And their parade.
Did they bottle the league? Maybe they might have bottled the league a little bit, but it's hard for me to say that anyone really bottles in a 3-horse race. They were just the first to drop out of it, so that's just kind of what it is from my point of view. The last day is on Sunday. We've got a couple games in between then. Championship Sunday. Everyone's playing 10 a.m. here Central Time. Winks has some scenarios to run through. I love it. I love it so much. I love this league. It's the best league in the world. But Winks has some scenarios to run through. Yeah, go for it. Let's chat on this.
Okay. So we set the scene here. As it sits, Arsenal are top of the table by 1 point. 3 by goal differential. City play Spurs tomorrow. If City win, they go up by 2 points with both teams having one game to play. if Spurs pull one out of their ass, we remain 1 point clear and we would have to match or better City's result in the final game to win. Good omens though, Spurs have won each of their last 4, I think it is, Premier League games against City. But the important piece to that as well is without conceding a goal. However, if there is a tie, we remain at the top in goal differential. And then if we beat Everton by more goals than City beats West Ham, we'll lift the trophy. If something crazy happens these next few games, though, and we end up tied on points and goal differential, thankfully our 1-0 win at the Emirates and then draw at the Etihad earlier this season would also be in our favor. So there's 3 things that could happen, 4 if you include the unlikely event that everything ends in a tie and we have to go to head-to-head matches. But it's about as close as you can get at this point without being quite literally tied in points game by game the rest of the way. So it kind of all depends on Spurs tomorrow.
Kingmakers, they call them, and then they lost to every important team. So
still, unfortunately for you, Winks, and I honestly think if I would have had
to pick, we're in the same boat.
I just think that City's gonna City right now. This is what these guys are built for, man. And I truthfully do think Spurs have the potential just to play them well, but like this is the time of year with their entire roster is full of stars who are built for moments like this.
And honestly,
this is their 4th year doing it.
That's what I mean. They've been here and they've done it. They know how to play in these big games. Like
thinking about it last year, like we started losing games like after the winter break, right after Christmas and Boxing Day and all that stuff. So like we all kind of saw it coming to an extent. I was trying to be as positive as I could, but this is more gutting for me than what happened to us last year because we've lost 1 Premier League game in 2024.
Yeah, you've made them have to be perfect.
Bro, yeah. We've lost 1 game and we still have the probability to lose the league by 2 points, assuming both teams win out. And only lost 1 this year. That to me is a lot more frustrating than being up by a lot of points halfway through the season and then just shitting it away.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats. But you guys have a potential of 89 points, right? That wins you so many Premier Leagues before 2013, 2012.
Speaking of that, did you see? I don't know if it was Arteta or a different manager, but somebody said in an interview in a presser, you need a minimum of 90 points typically to win a Premier League, and we can only get to 89 if we win out. I think that's kind of crazy too to think about. I'm pretty sure it was Arteta that said that. I don't know where I saw it. I should have screenshotted it, but some manager said, yeah, you need to be at least at 90 points to pretty securely win a league, and we're going to potentially end at fucking 89.
What a shame.
We'll see.
What a shame. One of these days will be gone, so that'll be nice eventually.
Are we going to mention the other points that could possibly happen as far as the other teams go?
No,
like
I don't care. I don't care about the other teams.
Well, when we started this off, we were talking about all these scenarios, and then you said all the Arsenal and City ones. We all know City's just going to win. I was intrigued with the other ones as well.
No, but looking at the table,
I know we could technically go to 6th, but I would rather.
You could go to 6th. We could go to 5th. Tottenham can go to 4th.
So as it sits for those that aren't looking at the table and are listening, Tottenham are in 5th with 63 points. Newcastle and Chelsea sit at 6 and 7, both with 57 points, minus the goal differential, and then United at 8th with 54. So certain teams losing out and winning out could mean a
drastic change.
Could be a big swing, especially with the form Chelsea's been in. You know, who knows? Newcastle's been doing well the last 3 games. I think it's really only Spurs outside of their win last weekend who have been kind of on a bad, and United. I don't know, dude. Yeah, it's The top 4 is locked in. Aston Villa, Liverpool, City, and
Well,
Arsenal.
Villa can still technically not.
You
Tottenham have a
catch
game
6
in
points
hand.
from Spurs.
Yeah.
I hate it.
That's what I'm saying. It's
frankly.
spicy. There's so many different possibilities like this
There's narratives
ending
here.
of the year.
And
Only game that matters is
same with the
26.
relegation battle too. Burnley at 24 points, Luton at 26, and Nottingham at 29.
I think
Nottingham
that's
are
set though
out.
because of the goal
The
differential.
bottom 2 are set. Nottingham and whoever's
But
above
it's even
them.
like even if they win, they have to win by like it's like 6-0 both ways. Like the goal differential is so crazy.
You're
that,
right.
like,
Looking at
yeah,
it, okay.
yeah.
Luton
My
has
bad,
to score
my
less
bad.
goals.
That's why they were celebrating at Chelsea because like the result really didn't
Yeah.
matter because they knew that even if they lost out, the goal differential was probably going to stand.
Roger that. So
So-
all to say, it's going to be a wild week all around the table.
Wait, is 6th Conference League?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
unless we end up getting the extra spot
If United wins the FA Cup, 8th, I
We
in
get
the
think.
you up.
Champions League.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know how some of those.
he would-
Germany's getting the coefficient because
Yeah.
Bayern and Dortmund and Leverkusen.
Well, all eyes on May 25th, fellas. It's all that matters. That's the main thing I took from this. It's the main thing I took
Cup
from this.
Cup final
Yeah.
for Dobes. No way around it. But that gives us, a perfect segue over to Europe. Obviously, we're talking about a blinder on Sunday. We're talking about a huge, huge day. So, the last things we want to hit on before we wrap up here. Dortmund won over PSG. They made it shock through Kylian Mbappe's final Champions League performance with PSG. He will not be returning. I don't know. I think everyone here is pretty gassed for the Farmers. Pretty amped up for the guys in yellow.
100%.
Absolutely.
Just
I
like we
think
talked about earlier. Pump for Royce.
Yeah. I also think it's cool that the scenario with Jude, like all of that story and coming full circle, I think is super cool. Like he's playing his
Big.
ex-team in Wembley, like
Yeah.
after the season that he's had. I also thought the thing I sent you guys where like if Dortmund wins, they win 20 million, and if Jude wins, they win 25. So like they're kind of in a win-win scenario right now. So like I just think this final is going to be very, very spicy.
And we talked about it before these teams played too. If Bayern had moved on and won the title or won the trophy, Harry Kane probably is a front runner for Ballon d'Or. If not, if PSG moved on, Kylian.
Yeah.
If Real, Jude. So
Jude or Vinny, bro. I've seen Vinny
Yeah.
shouts. I don't
Yeah.
like that as much, but I did see someone say that, it's hard to compare from what we've looked at for forever because it was Messi or Ronaldo, and there was just no other conversation about who it could actually be. So
It was
We're
who had
really
a better
in the-
season that year.
we're really in terms now of, who's doing the most with their team and who's had the most contribution with their team. And they're not going to be Messi and Ronaldo. We're not going to see that battle, I don't think, again in soon by any means or in future history in general. So Bayern did lose to Real Madrid, albeit a very controversial decision at the end.
Yes, we didn't
and
even get to
personally
talk
for
about
me,
that. Holy shit.
very controversial, very questionable decision making on Tuchel's part as well. Trying to lock down a 1-0 win against Real Madrid was just never going to work, in my opinion. And I don't know, you guys haven't watched Harry Kane like I've watched Harry Kane. He is the best player that you want on a pitch if you're holding a lead. That guy will soak up pressure, he will hold the ball, and he will go down. He will take hits. They pulled him off. They pulled their attacking off. Tried to put Choupo-Moting in there. Not the same players. And Real Madrid pulled it out.
You can't deny that
Bro,
it's hilarious, right? I was thinking about it today after our text this morning. Is it worse than is it worse than the KD going to the Warriors? He joins a club that has won a league title for 10 years in a row, probably the most winningest club in the last decade, and they don't win a title when he's there. I just
Bro,
think
he's the best.
I still think he's an
been-
incredible striker and probably the best striker in the world at the moment. I'm not denying that. But we can also talk about how hilarious that is that he joins a side to win a trophy and he's unable to do so.
I love it.
Hafey had me absolutely fucking heated at 8
I'm
a.m. this
sorry.
morning. I'm not even gonna lie to
Sorry.
you guys. I was hot.
I was watching this game. It was actually kind of funny. Madison and I were driving. It was on Wednesday. We were going to a wedding rehearsal, and I was watching the game. In the moment that Bayern scored, I looked at Madison and I go, "I promise you, Madrid's going to score. Like I promise you that Madrid's going to score." Because once that Bayern scored, Madrid. Like I think I texted Hoove this. Like Madrid has the literal version of aura. Like they have that feeling about that club. No matter what it is, that they will always find a way. And yes, there was some controversial calls, but like the fact that they can just turn it on like that, score 2-1, all of a sudden Bayern's sitting there holding their hands in the air, like how did this just happen? We were in the Champions League final. It's just Madrid, man. It's just what they do.
Yeah, and even doubling down on the controversy. We're still talking about a team that took off all their best attacking players. Like we're looking at 30 more minutes of extra time with this Real Madrid team.
DeLit's the one the controversy's on.
Flying. Yeah, and it was DeLit. I mean, in my mind, and the way that we've seen this world of football refereed, we're not putting the flag up early. That's just not a thing that we've been doing anywhere. That was a mistake, and it.
I know it's been annoying me how late we've been doing it. And it's the first time it wasn't late.
The first time it wasn't, and in a situation that they planned for, you don't put the flag up exactly for situations like that. And the fact that the linesman
admitted to making a mistake.
Admitted to making a mistake sucks. That sucks. I still don't think they get it done. I think it adds a lot of unnecessary controversy. I think Real Madrid were the better team, at least in the second half. But now there's this shroud of Madrid doing the devil's bidding, and they've got Lucifer themselves, doing any type of trick they can get to continue to move on. And it's not new. I've seen a lot of clips recently that Madrid's kind of gotten away with some stuff for a few years now.
That was a Bernabeu flag. That was a line that wanted to put that flag up so bad because
Yeah. So, we've got a Dortmund Real Madrid final. We're all rooting for Dortmund. Marco Reus, our boy. Absolutely. I don't see them doing it, but I've said that about them the last 3 fixtures they've had, 3 matchups. So,
agreed.
Anything happens in this game.
I don't think I picked them once.
No, probably not. I don't know if I have either. And we would not be.
One game is also just completely different. Like, it's a whole different.
Totally different. It'll be cagey. No way around it. So that comes up end of the year, and we would not be a world football podcast if we did not touch on, I think, all of our favorite teams at the moment. Bayern Leverkusen, 97th minute tying goal to go. Bayern NeverLosen to go 4-2 on aggregate over Roma in the Europa League. Scenes. Absolute scenes. I was laughing. I was watching it at work, just cackling. I was like, I cannot believe that they pulled this out.
What's the stat?
And the game
11?
in itself.
Sorry, isn't the stat 11?
11 games they've scored after the 90th minute. Yeah.
That's just absurd.
And they were going through on aggregate already, but they had to keep that record. They had to keep
absolutely.
That record. I had to keep it.
And I think it's similar to how Doze was kind of describing Real Madrid's aura, but that's kind of built into their club. Like, I just feel like the Leverkusen's team right now has that aura as well of like, it's the 80th minute, we're still going to score a goal. Like, every time I was watching that game and like past the 80th minute, I was like, I think I even texted, I was like, there's no way, right, guys? Like, they need to score 2. And they did. And I was like, yeah, I'm never doubting that again.
I obviously, and this isn't to like take a shot at Arsenal here, but like if they do this, like if this blows the Invincibles out of the water, blows it out of the water.
Insane.
But like, does this get up there with like obviously not best teams of all time, but like best accomplishments in footy history of all time? Because like they would have won. They would have won the league, the DFB Polka, and the Europa League in this. They won a treble without losing a single game.
I think if Dortmund wins the Champions League, I think they're like, you have to call them one of the best teams of all time. Because that means they beat the champions of Europe in their league, and then they won the treble. And didn't lose.
And we're not talking about like a Real Madrid side either here, lads.
No.
Let's name more than 5 to 6 players on this
couldn't.
team.
I couldn't.
I definitely could now.
It's just I bought a Jeremy Frimpong jersey.
Yeah.
I would have no idea who this cat was 2 years ago. We saw him come up a little bit. He played in City Park in the exhibition game that we played against Leverkusen. That's some insane stuff. So cool.
Yeah.
Javi Alonso was on the touchline in City Park, and now he's a legend.
Now he's invincible season. Yeah.
Now he's invincible.
I'm trying to see who they have. They have one last league game and then 2 finals.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. Well, lads, it was a spirited one. A lot of banter, a lot of stuff going on. The world of football is absolutely electric right now. And
this weekend's going to be rowdy.
This weekend's going to be rowdy. It's not a scenario where you can just call who's going to win for once. And that's not happened in plenty of years. So we're up to the final day. Sunday, 10 a.m., Premier League wraps up. A couple more European fixtures to go, and something about an FA Cup, I guess, Stopes is on about. But as always, it's been a pleasure. Young Yid, A.B. Hoover here checking out. Make sure to follow us on socials. TikTok, I've been getting on so many TikTok comment arguments. It's been awesome. So keep that up. We love the banter. Twitter's always active. Instagram's where we announce it. So
don't forget Mecca 20, Manscaped.com.
Mecca 20, Manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. So
and your girlfriends.
And your girlfriends and yourself. Get less hairy. It's not that hard to do. Cheers, boys.
Cheers,
It's a good one.
Cheers, boys.